Hello everyone, welcome to my next video. I've been on hiatus for a while trying to get through some transitions, but now that I've got some spare time, I'd like to talk about my tragus piercing, which is this one right here, that little dot. So I went back to my piercer Chris at Atomic Tattoos. I filled out some paperwork and watched him do the setup process just so that I know that all the materials were sterile and fresh out of the package. That took a few minutes. He cleaned my ear with some iodine and marked it for me to see. I should mention that in the mirror, the dot placement is going to look a lot closer to the edge of your ear than it actually is. So you can ask your piercer to take a picture of the mark so that you get an accurate idea of where it is. Then he had me lie on my side and he put the clamps on. He used a curved needle to make sure that he wouldn't accidentally pierce something that he didn't want to pierce. I had heard that tragus piercings can be one of the most painful piercings that you can get, but honestly it wasn't that bad. Maybe a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10. Putting the jewelry through hurt like a bitch, though. That was probably the worst part. I have a 16 gauge titanium labret. I'll probably change it out after the healing period is over, just about 6 months, give or take. Your starting jewelry will typically be longer than your average labret to compensate for the swelling. But overall, the piercing process probably took about 5 minutes or less, quick and relatively painless. After the piercing, though, there was this dull ache if I tried to smile too big. That ache would sometimes come back for the first week or so I'd usually just pop a few painkillers. As for aftercare, I cleaned it about 3 times a day for the first 2 weeks, using H2 Ocean mostly instead of the typical saltwater soaks. Unfortunately, it still got infected, which isn't surprising, as tragus piercings are difficult to clean and prone to infection because of it. I had to use alcohol and peroxide to kill the bacteria, and after that I started using an unscented liquid soap to help keep it clean. I try to use the alcohol very rarely so that it doesn't slow the healing process. During the healing period, they recommend that you keep your cell phone away from the piercing because of how much bacteria it can harbor. If you're going to use your cell phone near the piercing, you're going to want to make sure that you clean it first, just rubbing alcohol. You want to be very gentle when you wash your ears and the general area around the piercing. Use an unscented soap and make sure you keep your facial soap and any makeup or oils away from the piercing. Try to avoid swimming in pools or lakes because of the bacteria. Again, going to the beach is okay though. The salt water is actually good for it. Just have to make sure you clean all the sand off. Since I'm a side sleeper and sleeping on new piercings is very uncomfortable, my little trick is to sleep on one of these travel pillows. You lay it flat and then rest your ear in the hole in the center. It worked great for me, and after a while I didn't need it anymore. In general, this piercing really has been great. Other than the initial infection, I haven't had any problems with it. It doesn't get caught or anything. I just recommend that you be extra careful when you brush your hair so that it doesn't get caught on your hairbrush. Make sure you keep styling products away from it. As a general rule of thumb for ear piercings, they say you want to make sure that you're sleeping on clean sheets to avoid getting an infection. You have to be extremely careful if you're like me and you use Q-tips to remove excess earwax. Really, I think the only downside to having this piercing has been how difficult it is to use earbud headphones, which are unfortunately my headphones of choice. It's still possible, but you just have to make sure that they're clean before you insert them, and it may take a few tries to get them to stay put. I've been considering switching to a different style just to avoid it altogether, but other than that, that's it really. If you have any questions, you can leave me a comment below and I'll get back to you. So thanks for watching and have a good night.